Ouassima, if you're there and you don't mind, I just started it 2 minutes early to make sure that the webcam and everything is set up right. Just type in the chat box. I'm so not used to doing this chat box type of YouTube live, and I'm nervous about it. Hi, everybody. Ouassima, if you're there. And just to be sure, high def. Oh, good. Okay. Fantastic. So, and I'm on this StreamYard that you suggested. So I'm hoping that it's also simultaneously live on YouTube. Is that how it works? Yes, I did close down the YouTube. Okay, good. So that means it must be live. I'll be sharing my screen, and I hope that this time it comes out correctly. So just, okay. Hi there, Kitten Wakes and Tarot, cool. It's 1 o'clock officially, so why don't we go ahead and begin? So first of all, I am Silvia Pancaro, aka Moon Coach. I am the creatrix of Moon Coaching and AstroTarotOlogy, as well as a number of other fun and powerful programs which combine astrology, tarot, and various metaphysical tools for creating a life of joy and empowerment. So welcome to today's webcast. We're live. This is new for me, and I am going to do my best to look towards the chat area to follow up with any questions and comments, which I definitely invite you to ask me questions. I decided not to do my usual teaching style presentation with PowerPoints because we only have an hour. And I want to make sure that I have your involvement and I answer your questions. As a matter of fact, I'd love for you guys to, if you want me to pop up your astrology chart, what I call the essence blueprint, as an example, then please do put in your name, your date of birth, your city, state, country of birth, and your exact time. I won't really be able to do it given that there's something called rectification that needs to take place with birth times that are either off or you don't know your birth time. So I'm happy to work with you at that level just for the purposes of today. If anybody that has an actual birth time would like to volunteer, I'm happy to pop that in and we can use your chart as an example. So first of all, or next actually, I should say, thank you to everybody that's live. Thank you to everybody that watches this later. And I am intending for this to be a service to the community, whether you're a tarot reader or you're a student of astrology or you're a practicing astrologer or you're new to all of it and you're looking to understand your relationships. This is a primer, let's call it that way, because I have mega amounts of information that I want to do and teach, and I do teach. And I do have an upcoming longer course, a day-long workshop on relationships using astrology and tarot. And you can see that at the AstroTarotOlogy.com site. So today I'm going to give you just enough that you can actually feel empowered by it, that you can actually look at your charts and work with it, including the tarot cards. So I will be sharing my computer screen with the astrology program to show that to you, as well as hopefully you've brought some cards. And I want to thank Ouassima of Ouassimagik for inviting me to play along with everybody else that's doing the live streams on the subject of romance and love and relationships. So thank you, my dear friend, and I hope you're having a blast over in Portugal. So love and relationships and Valentine's Day. Now, before I started this, I actually pulled cards because I wanted to know what would serve the collective most today. I have a bunch of notes and information here of what I want to cover. However, it was interesting when I asked what would serve, what question, what theme of relationship would better serve today. I had something that is quite the opposite of romance and what we would expect in typical relationship. And the card that I got, and this is from the beautiful Whispering Tarot, is a Nine of Swords. And of course, we see here a lot of pain and a lot of anguish. So relationships don't always go as we want them to. Relationships are, in fact, a mirror of our own unconscious or subconscious patterns, the dynamics, which are reflected in our astrology chart. And the point of all of this work that all of you do, that all of us do, is to bring up from the depths of the unconscious those dynamic patterns that we are ready to heal in this particular lifetime. Which, whether you believe in reincarnation or parallel lives or none of it, there's certainly lessons involved that we can identify and bring more clarity to a conscious awareness level through looking at our relationships, whether these are romantic relationships or these are business partnerships, or these are parent-child or boss-worker, whatever relationship, because everybody thinks of Valentine's Day, the romantic piece, but it isn't just that. We're in relationship with everything and everyone, including our own internal relationship to our own higher self. So for me, as a professional astrologer and seminar facilitator in all that has to do with self-empowerment, I look at everything as relationship. I look at the chart and I look at, yes, the romantic partnership potential. I look at the business partnership potential. We look to aspects involving the moon for the relationship with the mother or the maternal figure in the person's life. Same with the father. So there's a lot that we can look at in terms of relationship, astrology, and tarot. Given the card that we pulled for really considering not just the romantic, but how relationships can go wrong in any of these spheres, in any of these types of relationships. I just wanted to address that by taking the position of the observer, the dispassionate observer, and looking at the mirror of these people in our lives, we can in fact identify those wounded places in our own consciousness that continue to draw challenging relationships into our lives. When we have a challenge come up in whatever kind of relationship, then it's a gift for us. It's a gift for us to be able to say, that's an unconscious pattern from when I was 6 that no longer serves me. It's very similar to doing shadow work. In essence, it kind of is. So all relationships have shadows that are mirroring those unconscious shadow parts of ourselves. So my invitation to you is what I'm going to present to you today. Look at it on 2 levels. One, to create a conscious relationship in your life, romantic, business, otherwise, and also to heal existing subconscious patterns within your relationships, primarily the relationship you have with yourself. Oh, and I wanted to actually start with sacred space. I sort of dug into it without um, uh, doing what I wanted to do to create that sense of sanctity for us. So first, let me check to see, make sure. Awesome. Okay, so I will address everything, all the notes. So let's just take a brief moment to just close our eyes, and we will ground and center to be able to tap into our own relationship patterns today. And I'm going to play just a moment, just sound the thymus, which is called the higher heart chakra. And to bring in the energy of Mars and Venus, because in astrology, Mars and Venus are very important players, indicative of relationship patterns, but they're not the only ones. They're the most famous ones, but certainly not the only or the most important ones. So I'm going to go ahead and play. Let's do Mars first. And Venus. And even if you couldn't hear it very well, because it's a very subtle sound, everything is vibration. So I trust fully that somehow it is pulling us together within the vibration of the divine feminine represented by Venus and the divine masculine represented by Mars. Okay. So that's it. Before continuing, let me actually add the other two cards pulled in response to the Nine of Swords, addressing the pain and the more difficult challenges that we may face in our one-on-one relationships. Also got the Nine of Wands, which to me was saying, in order to work on some of the challenging and painful aspects within relationships, it may be necessary to take a stand and create a sense of sacred space for ourselves, to step away from any momentary arguments or issues that are really hurting us. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with this, because that card really would require addressing abusive type of situations. But I think moving away from any situation that, whether it's deeply painful or just a challenge or abusive, is important to simply step away as best as you can, create a sense of safety. That way you can become more objective. And this is the final card that I got for this particular teaching today. The King of Swords. In order to gain a sense of objectivity, to be able to stand apart from the emotional, mental, and possibly physical anguish that we may feel. You know, how many of us have a fight? I certainly did, actually, with one's partner, husband, wife, child, parents, boss, and left us feeling dismembered. And relationships do this. You know, all these faces that we see here are the other. You know, there's the self and there is the others. And in the chart, what we look at is, in fact, the seventh house, which represents the other, which represents the relationship that ideally we have with others. And opposite to that is the first house, sometimes also, well, definitely connected with the ascendant. The rising sign, which hopefully you guys have heard about, begins the 360-degree circle or wheel that we refer to as one's astrology chart. So we have the ascendant is the moment of the first breath, the beginning of one's life, and that begins the first house. And then, of course, all the sequence. So what we're going to look at today is pulling cards for that polarity, the relationship dynamic between the first and the seventh houses, the relationship axis. The first house being myself, and the seventh house being you, the other, in whom I am having this relationship with. So objectivity is really important, and that's what I'm looking to help you guys integrate. So let's see here. Okay, good. I've got Hidden Weights and Tarot's definitely got some good timing here. Okay. Let me also begin with, I shouldn't say begin, I keep saying begin, but the truth is that we keep moving. Let's see. The Justice card. In AstroTarotOlogy, which of course is based on many different esoteric traditions, including the work of Paul Foster Case and Builders of the Adytum, I'm more of an esoteric teacher than I am, readings. I work at a personal coaching transformational level. So I work with esoteric principles and assignments. So in the tarot, the Justice card is related to Libra, the archetype of relationships, the archetype of balance, of harmony, of that dance between myself and you. And it is the sign that does not have a human or animal figure. It is the most objective one, because it's at the center point of the 360-degree zodiacal wheel. So we are able to step back. It's represented by an inanimate object being the scales. So what we're doing is we're being as objective as possible in noticing all our relationships and being able to bring fairness, equality, understanding, and harmony within those relationship settings. So I'm invoking, as a matter of fact, Libra and Justice here today to guide us and to act as a mediator across that seventh first house astrological axis, which I will show you on the screen in just a moment using the sample charts. I have a lot of decks here. I don't know if you can see them, but I pulled a bunch of decks right here to use as samples. Okay, let me do share screen. Well, actually, before I hit share screen, let me actually, let's go ahead and just sound check. I'm coming out okay. This is like my first real time that I'm doing it this way, so. And I have now popped up my astrology program. Are you guys able to see that okay? Oops. I don't actually see the screen, so if one of you guys can confirm for me that the chart is up on the screen. Okay, cool. Thank you. Can you write down your name for me in the box too, your actual name? Because I don't want to put you in as Kitten Weights and Tarot, unless you want that, but it sounds more like a business name. So I'd rather have your actual name here. Oh, it's black? All right, this is very important. This is a very visual piece here. Let's try this again. Share screen. This is where one of you guys that are familiar with this might. All right, well, let's just do it this way then. Whoa. How's that even? I guess I'll just do it this way. How about now, guys? I think one of you said that there's a lag time. You want me to just use Tara in there? Okay. Maybe what I'll do is I'll log on to my YouTube on my phone to make sure that this is working. So you want me to just use Tara in there? Okay. Okay, it's working. Yay. Maybe what all right, I see that the chart is up. Yes. Okay, cool. All righty then. So let's pop in Tara. Let's go add new chart. Move this out of the way. Yeah, if you don't mind, because I'm that way in the future when I have other Taras. Oh no, so what's your last name then? So we have June 10, 1981 at 5:01 p.m. San Diego. I'm from California too, originally. And let's see. Okay, well, I'll just put, oh, there we go. I should have remembered. I don't know why I'm blanking out. Sorry about that. Okay, female, we'll just leave all that. Is that from a birth certificate, Tara? And then here I'll make a note. All right. Boy, it's a little slow. Okay. I don't know why it's freezing. There we go. All right. So let me first give you an overview. Here is Tara's chart. But what I wanted to do is first explain the process. Let me make this bigger. And I'm going to switch the type of charts to make it simpler, okay? Yeah, let's use this one. All right, so here is your astrology chart. And all astrology charts are, of course, different. They are what I call, as I mentioned, the essence blueprint. We all have a blueprint that we can refer to. We did come with a set of an instruction manual when we were born, but most parents don't know it. And it's this, your astrology chart. And they are not duplicated. We are each unique. And yet it is not written in stone. It is, in my belief, is nothing is should be used for prediction, but rather for conscious choice. That includes using the tarot for guidance, but not for saying, oh, you will da, 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 da. So I'm the same way with astrology, that I look at the transits and cycles to show us opportunities that are coming up, whether it's opportunities for starting a new business, an opportunity for healing a particular pattern, an opportunity and a cycle of time that is conducive to creating a relationship of any of the types that we discussed. So all our strengths and weaknesses are here, archetypally and energetically speaking, represented by all of these funky little symbols. So some of you that are watching may be familiar with all of this, and some of you are like, what? You know, this is way too much. So this is why I am going to just talk about 2 points. Each one of these, let me change the wheel. I just realized here, we want one that's got numbers. Yeah, there we go. This one has numbers. Perfect. So you'll see that there are 12 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Each one of these are called houses. These are the sectors of life in which we have our life experience, where we grow, where we're challenged, where we succeed, where we have apparent failures, which eventually lead to successes. The chart is not static. We grow and we shift, we evolve. The chart evolves with us, and yet the chart appears as if it's static. And as the cosmos continues its evolutionary journey, we are doing the same. But as the planets continue to move around and around, certain parts of our own individual psyche, as well as the collective psyche, get triggered, get activated, get invited into conscious co-creation with those unconscious patterns that I mentioned at the beginning of today's talk. So just that, just as an intro, nothing is static. You are not static. You are evolving, you are shifting, you're changing. And all of these relationships are helping us to evolve, shift, change, and grow and heal. So the 2 points that we're going to look at are the 1st and the 7th. The 7th house, this section that I'm pointing to here, I don't know if this gives me an opportunity to highlight. I guess not, but hopefully just look for 7. Hopefully the mouse is moving around, hovering over the 7th section here. That is typically called the house of marriage and partnerships. It represents the scene or the scenario, the stage of relationship. In one perspective, it represents our ideal relationships. And in another, it represents, like I mentioned earlier, you, the other, right? So this here for Tara is ruled by the sign Taurus, okay? Your sun sign Gemini, okay. So Taurus rules your house of relationships. On the other side, exactly opposite, we have the 1st house. And the sign that's rising, ascending, and beginning the entire life pattern that is your life in this particular incarnation is Scorpio. You have Scorpio rising, Scorpio ruling the 1st house. And everything in astrology is about polarity, the dance of not 12 individual archetypal signs, but really it's six pairs that work together in relationship to bring about certain experiences and ahas in our life. So in Tara's case, we have this relationship dynamic between Scorpio and Taurus. Scorpio self, Taurus other. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to take, first we're going to imagine in the center of the wheel, and all of these lines actually represent mathematical relationships between all the different aspects of the consciousness in the individual. Advanced stuff, I'm not going to go through that. Just know that those actually represent relationships. They're called aspects, and they're mathematically derived. All right, since I don't have myself on the screen, I'm hoping that I'm capturing this. So again, in the middle there, where to me, the point of power is always in our core. And Libra, being represented by the scales, has that little fulcrum point, right? Libra is always seen as this dance between the opposites. We're always weighing different factors. But the point is to stay at the fulcrum, which never moves. Okay, so look at the center of that wheel as your center, your core, your fulcrum, where you're pulling all these different aspects of your consciousness into some kind of relationship dance. So let's invoke Libra at the very center, or rather, I would say, let's invoke justice at the very center, just to help us mediate between the 1st and 7th house, between Scorpio and Taurus for Tara. So imagine that. And then, okay, now pull your cards, Tara, and look for the Hierophant. Look for the Hierophant. And also, while you're at it, look for Scorpio is the Death card. Look for the Hierophant and Death. And I'm going to do the same here. Come on, here you are. And I'm using my uncolored cards from Paul Foster case. So we would place, I'm going to email this to you, and anybody that wants a copy of their chart, I have a free link to get your chart downloaded for free, or email me, Silvia, Silvia at mooncoach.com. And I'm happy to do that for you. But I'll email it. You're going to print the chart out. We're going to identify the sign that's on that 7th house cusp and the sign that's on the 1st house cusp. And we're going to put them together side by side, or with, actually, yes, let's put it side by side. And then with justice, then the justice will be for everybody, okay? Remember, justice is mediating, acting as a counselor to be able to keep the peace between the other two polarity signs or cards. So I'm hoping this comes out on the screen. I don't know if it is, but what I'm doing is holding up justice above, sort of like at the pyramid peak, and then the Hierophant, which is the card associated with Taurus, and then next to it, the Death card, which is the card associated with Scorpio in Tara's case. And what we will do is dialogue. All of relationship is about creating dialogue. And by doing this, we're bringing up to our awareness these archetypal qualities that are at work within ourselves. And with that mediation, with the peacekeeper justice at the center, what we're doing is listening. There's this heart opening. If do a journey in which, in your case, Tara, your Hierophant is as the ruler of your 7th house, expressing representative of the other, whether this is your husband, whether this is your business partner, whether any kind of partner that you may have, and is saying, okay, this is what I need from you to feel in harmony within this relationship. And then allow for the Death card to step in and say, and this is what I need in order to be able to express myself in a harmonious way within the relationship. Now, those questions are for everybody. That's not for ask yourself what your 7th house card is wanting to represent, to speak, to bring up as an activity, as an expression of itself in your life, to be able to bring harmony into your relationship. And not only that, but it's also what you're expecting from others, since the seventh house is a house of others anyways, then somehow the Hierophant in your case is representative of what you would want to get back from your relationships. And okay, so let's just focus on romantic, since it is, after all, Valentine's Day. So this would be from your husband. And what does the Hierophant say to you? Rather than me tell you, I would like to hear, and this is the part that I really wish we were on Zoom so that I could have your face on the screen, I could see you and feel your energy, and you could use your microphone. But okay, I'll deal. If you can, please, Tara, put in there in the comments section what it might mean for the Hierophant to be representative of your relationship needs from your husband specifically, or from your relationships in general, for you to feel happy, balanced, harmonious. And since we're in live time, I'll give it a sec here. Or if you want to start on the other side and go to your house of self, the first house, the rising sign, and of course, again, yours is the death card for Scorpio. What for you is the Scorpio representing? What is the death card saying that you bring to share within your relationships? Because this is the house of self. This is what you're bringing into the relationship. I'm not seeing any activity there. I'm hoping that I'm still on the air. What I'll do is I'll log on to my YouTube on my phone. Okay, I'm hoping that it's working. I'll keep going. Okay. So I'll let you just sit with that. The next piece after that is to look at using the dispositorship process. It's a technical term in astrology, and it's basically like weaving with a thread and needle different parts of the chart. So what I would look at, and what I'd like for you to add to your relationship play here, dialogue, because basically I should have started by saying we're creating a dialogue, a conscious dialogue between these parts of self, is to look at the planetary ruler of the sign on your seventh house, because that planet will give you information as to how you can go about getting, creating, manifesting, developing your ideal relationship. Okay. And in your case, Tara, since you have Taurus on the seventh house, for those of you that don't know, the planet that naturally rules Taurus is Venus, the actual planet of love and beauty and grace. So we would next go to Venus in your chart to see how you might go about bringing your relationship goals into manifestation. So along with the Hierophant and Death, you're going to add, Venus is represented by the Empress, but we're going to go to, so we're going to add the Empress into this discussion. So let's see, I know I have her here somewhere. Here we go. So now how does the picture change? How does it begin to shapeshift? How much more information are you going to get from adding the planet or the archetypal ruler of your seventh house? So now we've got the Hierophant in conversation with the Death card and bringing in the Empress. Okay. And the final piece, and I think that's going to be as much as I'm going to give to you guys today, would be the planet that rules your first house sign, your ascendant. And in Tara's case, it is going to be It depends on if you want to use traditional rulership or contemporary. I use both. So for Scorpio, I use both Mars as the traditional ruler of Scorpio, and I use Pluto as the contemporary. So let's start with Mars in your case. So Mars is the Tower card. I hope you're writing this down because I want to report back. So you would add the Tower card, which is Mars, into that conversation. And for added depth, Pluto is the Judgment card. Where are we? Here we go. You would add Judgment. So that's quite a conversation, isn't it? To be able to have, in Tara's case, the ruler of the 7th house of relationship, Hierophant, plus the ruler of the 1st house of self, I like it this way better, Death, and then you bring in the planets that rule each side. The Empress for Venus, Mars is the Tower card, and for added layers of information, the co-ruler of Scorpio, the 1st house, is Judgment. So your homework, Tara, would be to do a creative dialogue, journal, move into a space of deep meditative focus and self-awareness, and do a play with these particular archetypal qualities. The next level, and there are so many levels, but I think that's like enough for everybody to work with. It's the 1st and 7th house signs with the planetary rulers. There's more layers, but this is enough to get you guys started in terms of how to understand your relationship dynamic. So let me see what she's gotten here. Okay, so Tara says, I think the Hierophant would want me to bring past knowledge of all my past relationships into my current relationship. Very good. Empress Venus says to be kind with past errors and continue moving forward, not to let setbacks set back the relationship. Very good. So if I may, I'll add a little bit to that. But I don't want to add too much because I feel that this is a deeply personal process. And it's best for you to ask your own soul, your own spirit, and the monad for direct interpretation and guidance on this, as opposed to having someone else tell you. But I'll still add just enough. The Hierophant is the inner teacher, esoterically speaking. So it has to do with our listening skills. So you would combine that with the meaning of Taurus in your case, which is a practical ground to earth experience that allows for your relationships to use all the senses. The idea is for your partnership, your marriage, your beloved, and you to use all the physical senses. Taurus is the most physical and the most grounded of all the earth signs, arguably, but generally speaking. So there's this aspect of being able to listen to your partner and feeling that you are being heard by your partner as well. To be lovingly appreciated. Appreciation is a huge key word for Taurus. And the root of that word comes from the old Latin appreciare, which is to give value. So your relationships are about giving meaning to the experiences of your 3D life. It is about feeling valued, valuing your beloved, and together finding the meaning and value in your journey together. Using all of the senses, using your body and looking for ways to truly find beauty in life. So even though you're a sun sign Gemini, which will make you more fun-loving and playful and, air, mental realm, there's this lightness to being a sun sign Gemini, and that is your central purpose. And we can never leave aside our central core life expression, which is always the sun, and the moon, which represents the ways that we need to take care of ourselves, how we can nurture ourselves, mother ourselves, as well as her representing our karmic shadow. So those 2 points, we cannot leave them aside in anything that has to do with relationship. Saturn is another big piece, looking at Saturn because karma is present there as well as the biggest lessons we have in life. But all that said, since our focus is that 7th house, for you, it is truly being able to enjoy your process of being a living goddess in form, being appreciated for that. And celebrating just the sensuality of love with your beloved. And then we would bring in the Venus aspect, and specifically the Empress. And, there's an abundance of beauty. There's an abundance of experience. So, doing activities, let's make it practical, right? In your case. So there's this need for searching for beauty, creating beauty, exploring beauty in whatever way that means to you, whether that's literally going out into nature, right? Just like the Empress is just in the midst of nature, whether that is nurturing and mothering, whether it's a child or your kitties or each other, yourself, there's this creative impetus that needs to feed your 7th house, your relationships, because of the Empress being Venus ruling that 7th house. So that aspect of creative exploration of beauty, love, all that the Empress may be, and bringing that sense of joyfulness into your 7th house relationships. But let's not forget the other side of it. We must also balance that out with a Scorpio, that transformational imperative, because it is the rising sign. And that's what you bring into your own life. It is an avenue of expression for you, and it has to play a part within your relationships. The Scorpio polarity, transformation, alchemy, and where Taurus is earthy and sensual, there's a sexual and life force kundalini energy on the Scorpio side of it. So, what a beautiful pair really for a relationship. So if we look at the death card there, it's a continual process of transformation, that your partner be able to hold that safe space, that Hierophant and Taurus 7th house safe space for you to be able to go through your death rebirth processes, keep shedding the old skin. And you brought up the need for bringing in the lessons of your past relationships into your current relationship, so that it grows. Because it's not deny the fact that Scorpio is very concerned with shadow. So there's definitely a testing, okay, within relationship to make sure that the old, the past, the shadow, the karma doesn't trip you up, and that instead you use the power within your own core being to feed your partner and to feed your ideal relationship. So, and that of course leads to the Pluto card, Judgment, which is awakening, rising from the dead of the past in order to come into a new life. So my goodness, that's an incredibly powerful pattern. And to go even deeper, we would of course look at the houses in which you have Venus and Mars. Let me see if there's anything here. I literally did a little DIY for my dude's gift, a lantern with lights and 100 notes of, yes, of what you appreciate and love about him. Absolutely. And for you, that's your secret formula. You know, that's your particular, I think it's true about any relationship. We all have Taurus in our chart somewhere. So we all must learn the lesson of love and appreciation, the art of appreciation. Okay. Gratitude and appreciation is the ultimate expression, I believe, of Taurus. But in your case, it's like so perfectly posited there. So what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So, you know, to go even deeper, we would move into where's Venus in your chart? You know, Venus is in Cancer. Cancer is the Chariot in the tarot, and it's inside the 8th house. So we would have to go even deeper, which is actually the 8th, which is actually the house that is naturally ruled by Scorpio, the, you know, self card, the self position. So that's fascinating. Boy, I could totally get sucked into this right now. Oh my God, and you've got Pluto and Libra over in the 12th. Holy shit, you've got 4 planets in Libra. So relationship, I'm going to veer off topic. I can't help myself. I go into a chart. This is you, you know, this is the person. And I take it as a sacred duty to be able to witness one's patterns. And I mean, this is the scaffolding of one's soul. This really is a blueprint. So I can't help kind of going in. Each one is a wormhole. So in your case, you've got 4 planets in Libra, which is the archetypal sign of relationship itself. So objectivity is a key component in your life in general. Relationship is a massive, how do you say that? I'm thinking in Spanish and English and French at the same time. Avenue of growth and evolution for you, because they're heavy hitters that you have in that sign. Saturn and the moon are both karmic planets. And then Jupiter is growth and Pluto is transformation. So the path of relationship is major. So that means Venus is actually ruling not only your 7th house of relationship, but she rules your 11th house of groups and ideals in life as well. I'm sorry, I take that back. The 12th house of spiritual path of reach. You know, it's very important that you retreat when you need to step away from all your relationships and from the world at large. You need to connect with that Venus impulse in order to recharge your batteries, as well as to gain objectivity, because otherwise the Scorpio's total emotional drama. And remember, that's your rising sign. That's the 1st house. That's the self in juxtaposition to the 7th house of other. So it's imperative that you retreat. I mean, my God, you even have the sun in the 8th house. So as public as you are, as bubbly as you are, and fun-loving as a Gemini, you know, I mean, kitten waits in tarot, that's freaking awesome in terms of representative of the solar fire within you. But there's a lot that has to do in your chart with needing your downtime, moving away from the drama of external life in order to recapitulate. Okay, that's Scorpio. Recapitulate the events of the day, of the past, and be able to come back to center, to balance, and then move back out into everything else. So I kind of went beyond there for a little bit, Tara, but I hope that really works for you. Okay, so since we have 8 minutes left, I want to switch gears a little bit. My God, I didn't get through even 1/4 of what I wanted. So, you know, just as an example, and let's see, let me just look. In the 20 years we've known each other, there's been a lot of change and growing as people. Thank you, Caroline. Hey, Julianne. So let me see. Let me go over my notes to make sure that at least I covered. So we did the 7th and 1st house axis of relationship. We did the rulers of the 7th and 1st. I only mentioned Venus and Mars. Obviously, we cannot go into that. But if today helps, if it brought information to you that you can see adds value to your relationships, that brings a sense of self-awareness to those patterns in your life, then please join me. I do have a bigger one-day workshop, online workshop, specifically on astrology and tarot in relationship. And we will go deeper. We will do not just 7th and 1st house and its rulers, planetarily speaking, but we'll also do Mars and Venus. We're also going to go into other parts of the chart that have to do with a relationship. Because, you know, I mentioned Tara's sun. I didn't get a chance to mention the moon. You know, no relationship has any chance of survival, I don't think, whether, again, it's romantic, business, or family, etc., if you don't take care of your moon. Hey, I'm Moon Coach, so I got to bring it up. I created Moon Coaching, and this is the prime piece of all my work. It's to recognize that the moon is equally as important to the sun sign. To know our moon sign is to be able to understand our emotional patterns. It is to have a formula by sign and house position that shows us how we can nurture ourselves. How do we mother ourselves? Because the moon is, archetypally speaking, the mother, or the mother archetype. So it really is about self-care. You know, I on a very simple level, you look at it from the point of the element. Tara's case, moon in Libra, that's an air sign. What is air? Air is communication, journaling, speaking, information, literally breathing. It's yoga, you know, it's anything that moves the air currents at both an emotional level, at a physical level, psychological level. So you could do, if you're feeling out of sorts at an emotional lunar level, then that helps you to come back to a place of emotional stability, of emotional peace. Because if you're out of sorts with your moon at a lunar level, then you may be coming from your shadow within the relationships. And in your case with Libra, you know, you'll be lopsided, right? And that doesn't breed healing in the relationship if it's an unconscious emotional need that's gone unmet. And we meet our emotional needs through the moon. So the moon helps everything else in the chart. It helps you to truly express your solar fire, your sun sign, which is the key component of your life's purpose. You can't, you know, if you know the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then you know that at the top of the pyramid is basically it's transcendence, right? And at the bottom are all your physiological needs. So I like to put the sun at the top and the moon is closer to the bottom. If your emotional needs aren't being met, if you feel unsafe emotionally, there's no way that you can reach that top of the pyramid, that it's harder to shine, you know, because you'll be thrown off kilter. That's true for everybody. That's particularly true with your moon in Libra. Anyway, so I just had to mention that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Looking at the 1st and the 7th houses in terms of it being the relationship axis is just the first step in understanding. And as we saw here today, I hope, if I did my job right, then just seeing those two pieces with the planetary rulers and doing the creative dialogue with the players, tarot speaking, it yields a lot of information that's going to start bubbling up from within the core of your being and help you to bring balance, healing, and harmony to your relationships. So I just want to mention that. And as a last point, being that we can't get to all, again, I have all these cards that I think it's a poem, but with relationship, it always starts with you. Okay. So even though the 7th house is a house of relationships and partnerships and the house of the other, and in traditional astrology, it's also enemies. Is it open? Yes, open enemies. I don't do traditional astrology. I'm more of a spiritual, psychological astrologer. But that is one of the old terminologies for the 7th house. Isn't it interesting? The house of marriage partners is also the house traditionally of open enemies. Divorce, for some people. And I think that might be why we ended up getting, I don't know where I put my cards. Oh yeah, it was the suffering of the 9 of Swords to discuss and acknowledge that relationships are not always perfect. And that the more we do our inner relationship work, the more we're able to be objective, right? It was the objective perspective regarding those unconscious patterns that might be sabotaging even our best intentions with relationships. So it always comes back to from the 7th house to the 1st house of self. So relationship always is pivoted on your own self-understanding, your own self-love. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm inviting you to consider looking at it from your chart in combination with the tarot cards assigned to each one of the astrological signs and create that dialogue. Now, after you do that, because I get this a lot, people will email me or call me or whatever and ask me to do relationship readings because they've met such and such a person, right? Or they're having issues with somebody. Well, no, I always say absolutely not. I will not do a reading on another person. First of all, it's not ethical. I will not do a reading on a potential boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, unless that person has given express permission. And it doesn't matter because I first start you off with looking at your own chart. It is imperative that you understand your own relationship dynamics, conscious and subconscious, as shown in your natal chart, in order to create the foundation for a healthy relationship with other. So once that's done, you do what's called synastry and composite work. We compare the charts of the two to see the karmic relationships, to see the creative dharmic aspects between two individuals or more in the case of families, okay? Or partners, business partners. There could be multiple business partners. So at that point, yes, we look at that. So once you do your own work, you can now create a dialogue. Okay, I'm going to give you just the last little teaser here. It's not a teaser, it's practical. So, Tara, if you can, pop in your husband. Oh, no, we can't do his sun sign. We could have done it because that's okay. Even though I just said we won't do anything. Once you get his permission, okay, if you don't have his natal chart, then you can look it up and look at what his 7th house sign is and include that in the dialogue. But again, you got to promise me, 1, you do your work first, your journaling and dialoguing first. And 2nd, then you ask him if he's cool with it, which after 20 years together, I'd be willing to bet you are. So then you would take, what was it? The Hierophant with, I don't know, I'm just going to pull any old card here without looking and see what that is. The Emperor, let's just pretend that his 7th house cusp is Aries, which of course then would be the Emperor. Let me stop sharing this now. How do I stop screen? There we go. So let's just assume, right, that he's got Aries on the 7th house. And so then now we can see and compare and have this dialogue between your 7th house ruler and your beloveds. And you might even go so far as to actually the two of you work on this together. I don't know if in his case he's open to it. I'm lucky. My husband is my co-facilitator with everything. So this kind of thing is natural. But some couples aren't. So it would help you to understand where he's coming from in a relationship. So that all said, oh shoot, I'm over time. Let me wrap up. Hold on. Let me look at my notes. So you're probably all asking yourselves, well, which are the cards assigned to which of the signs? I'm going to tell you really quickly here on the video, but I'm going to go ahead and anybody that emails me or messages me on Facebook, I will send you a sheet with that information. Although in the tarot community, that's generally, it's around, but I'd love to give you mine. Some systems assign different tarot cards to different signs. And like I said, the one I work with is based on Paul Foster Case, Builders of the Adytum, which itself is based on, I'm blanking out. Anyways, so let me just go through the list. So let's start with Aries. Aries is the Emperor. Taurus, the Hierophant. Gemini, the Lovers. Cancer, the Chariot. Leo, Strength. Virgo, the Hermit. Libra, Justice. Scorpio, Death. Sagittarius, Temperance. Capricorn, the Devil. Aquarius, the Star. And Pisces, the Moon. In terms of planets, I'm going to go through them as well. The Sun, let's do it that way. The Sun is the Sun. The Moon is the High Priestess. The Earth doesn't have one, so Mercury is the Magician. Venus is Empress. Mars is the Tower. Jupiter is the Wheel of Fortune. Saturn is the World. Uranus is the Fool. Neptune is the Hanged Man. And Pluto is Judgment. So again, email me Silvia, Silvia, at MoonCoach.com, or find me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm on either as Moon Coach, Moon Coaching, and my most recent trademark brand is AstroTarotOlogy. So you'll find me on all those. As a matter of fact, I'm going to update my classes that I go deeper with all this. I'll update that to the astrotarotology.com site. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that this has helped you to better understand relationship. It's the tip of the iceberg, can't do much in an hour, but hopefully having worked with Tara's example of her chart, it begins to create. And I guess the last thing that I wanted to say is, aside from that first level dialogue with the cards associated with each one of the signs and planets, is then you would take oracle cards and ask, how do I bring this into even greater clarity? What is my challenge? What is the gift? So there's a lot more that we can continue to do aside from the major arcana as keys to understanding your own relationship dynamics. So I'm going to go ahead and look here, and then we'll close. Hi, Champagne. I do love your name. Just went through a karmic relationship from a past life and closed the cycle. How does this show in an astrology chart? That's a great question. That will be revealed by the current transits in one's chart. So I don't think you were with us at the beginning of today's webinar, but nothing is static. In astrology, we continue to grow, move, shift, evolve. And so the planets continue and in their cycles, and therefore they trigger and activate different parts of our own patterns and dynamics of our own psyche, conscious and unconscious. So it will be revealed in your case by whatever current transits you've recently gone through. A relationship cycle can be, 2 years more or less. It could be 1 year, 1 year because of the Venus cycle, about 2 years because of the Mars cycle. It could be a longer pattern of 28 years related to Saturn. So it all depends. So that's a general question. You can't really look at your own natal chart and say, no, you have to look at it within the context of current cycles. I hope that gives you a quick overview of that. And in terms, and I see, I see your next, I did. Okay, so I covered that, champagne, and the chart indicators. So it could be, say, Saturn hitting the 7th house cusp. Saturn has to do with rebuilding, okay? It has to do with karma. And that's why I mentioned earlier on in today's session that we can't look at just the 7th and 1st houses. We can't look at just Venus and Mars in terms of our own personal relationship patterns and current relationship scenarios. We have to look at other factors. Saturn is a huge player. The nodes of the moon are huge. The north node represents where we're going in life, what our new PhD is, and the south node, which is always opposite the north, has to do with our karmic past. So when two charts in a relationship have aspects, say between the moon and Saturn, that's a long time karmic pattern relationship that needs to be integrated into the person's life, whether that relationship stays or not. Or let's say there's the sun, one person's sun to the other person's south node. There you go again, very similar, just different qualities because the sun and the moon have different energies and represent different aspects of our psyche. So there are various factors, Champagne. But bottom line is it's all about the transits, okay? And let's see. Well, definitely, please go, guys. Go, and just watch the rest of this hopefully later. Come back, and I thank you all. Thanks, Ouassimagik, for inviting me to play with you guys. And this is Silvia Pancaro, Moon Coach, creatrix of Moon Coaching and AstroTarotOlogy. Thank you. May the goddess bless you, bless us all, and help us to bring further harmony into all our relationships. Thank you.